Welcome back. We're talking with Assemblymember Juan Arambula, State Senator Dave Cogdill, and Congressman Jim Costa. As Democratic strategist James Carville famously said over a decade ago, it's the economy, stupid. What's old is new again, as jobs and the economy are the preeminent issues in California. California's unemployment rate is higher and has risen faster than the U.S. rate. California's unemployment rate is 12.5%, while the nation's unemployment rate is just under 10%. Well, Congressman Costa, California has had some economic problems, but our region has had more dramatic and persistent problems than the rest of the state. The Central Valley, for example, has significantly higher unemployment than other parts of the state. What have you been doing in Washington? What will you be doing in Washington to address the Valley's unemployment problems?
Well, we've traditionally had higher unemployment than other parts of California, but a lot of that is the seasonal nature of our ag employment. But clearly the drought the regulatory drought over the last 3 years has dramatically added to the impact of unemployment, coupled with the home foreclosure issues. We're trying to bring more water to this valley. This year we increased our allocation to 45% on the federal level, 50% on the state level. We've initiated $57 million in projects that will provide short-term and interim water. Last month we broke ground on the Intertie project that will bring another 40,000 acre-feet of water to our valley. And for the last 2 months we've been working on next year's water supply. So that's a big part of it. Longer term, obviously, these two gentlemen played a large role in the state water bond effort last year that was to be on the ballot last week and was, as we all know, rescheduled for 2 years from now. But we've got to fix California's long-term water system to accommodate the 50 million people that we'll have living here in the next 15, 20 years.
And we're going to get to that in a little bit. I wanted to ask the two of you, what's happening in Sacramento, what you think what should be happening in Sacramento to encourage job growth here in the Valley?
Well, certainly from my standpoint, and I think my colleagues on my side of the aisle, it's always been about creating a better business climate for the state of California, making sure that we are competitive as it relates not only to the other states in the union, but worldwide. And many of us believe that we are at a distinct competitive disadvantage, which has resulted in a 12.5% unemployment rate statewide, and as mentioned, it's much higher, as we all know, in this valley. But certainly that's what I hear from my constituents is the regulatory environment in this state is becoming more onerous all the time. It becomes a much more difficult place to do business, to maintain existing jobs and create opportunities to expand the economy and create more jobs. So I think certainly that is probably one of the biggest things that we could do, is to try to get a handle on that. The realities in...
Do you see anything changes with Governor Brown coming in?
Well, from my standpoint, not in the right direction, certainly, and not so much Governor Brown, but I think the direction that he and the legislature received in this last election. With Prop 23 going down the way it did, I think the election...
That was the measure on global warming to keep the AB 32...
Right, it would have suspended AB 32's implementation until the unemployment rate dropped to 5.5%. And if you'll remember, when the law was passed, the governor fought very hard to give the governor, whomever they may be at that point in time, the ability to suspend that law to reflect the economic realities that we might at any period of time be facing.
Well, one of the arguments against that measure was that they thought that it would basically kill AB 32 because we'd never get down to that level of unemployment again.
Well, and there again, I think that's a debate that we need to have in more detail than what we've had, and I know there's a lot of disagreement on that. But one of the things that frustrates me, and I think many others, is the road that we're on relating to the whole question of global warming and how we treat it and the role we play in it, and the downsides, the impacts on our economy as a result of that, and the cost-benefit analysis that we need to look at more thoroughly.
Well, I want to ask Juan, well, what do you think we should be doing in Sacramento that we haven't been doing already, or we should stop doing?
Well, there are some regulations that I think we could do without, but I have to keep in mind that regulations were put in place for many valid purposes, such as making sure our food is not contaminated or adulterated, that we have clean water, that there's workplace safety. But what I hear from many small business people is their concern about an educated workforce. Where are they going to get workers that know how to do a good job, that have the right ethics, that have the right work skills? And my concern is that we're not doing a good job with California's educational system. We're not producing the kind of workers that are needed for today's jobs, much less tomorrow's jobs. And if we don't turn that around, then no matter what we do with regulations, we're going to be hurting.
Okay. Well, when we come back, we'll talk about some of the specific actions, like reducing taxes and regulations, and some of the specific projects, like high-speed rail, that some think might get our economy moving again. That conversation in a moment. This is the Maddy Report.